What's up, everybody?
Yes, good evening.
We're approaching the 1123.
1123. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't thought
January
about
1st.
I'm a little slow. Like I told you, I fell asleep on the couch a few minutes ago before I showed up here. But yeah, you're right. This will be our last one of 22.
Yeah, we gotta do the dad thing. Be like, we won't talk to you guys until next year.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next year. That's how we'll sign off. Yeah.
Man, and you did let me forget. Did you go back and did you hear?
I did listen. As I was listening to last week's episode, I was like, dang it. Cause I was like, I never knew what you were planning on doing at the end.
Yeah.
I was like, I almost texted you, like, what were you planning on doing? Cause we forgot to do it. But then, you came out and recorded it by yourself.
It really worked out because I had already gone inside and I had pulled up the laptop because I had something to do that next morning, because I'll either edit it as soon as we get done tonight or edit it first thing in the morning. I'll go ahead and give a spoiler alert. I'm not staying up to edit this one when we finish, so it will be edited in the morning. So it might drop at like 7 or 8, but it'll be up in the morning. But I was like, I hadn't gone in, got my laptop set up, and was about to start editing the episode, and I didn't have the card, and I had forgot the card out here. So I came out here to get the card out, and I was like, oh, there you go. I forgot to say that. So I just sat down and was like, I got to record and add that on there.
Yeah.
So, and I also got to add, I have had some like sinus drainage. So I feel like I got like a little bit extra, maybe a tad extra deep raspiness to my voice tonight. So if people are wondering, I'm not trying to have like a radio voice.
Yeah.
But I kind of got that going. The weather's been kicking my butt.
Yeah, it's been, well, heck. The weather's not too different today than it was when we recorded here last week. But since we
between there,
it's what happened. Yeah, it was back in the 50s again today. And but I guess the coldest I saw it was Friday morning. It was -1.
Yeah,
what I had both on my phone, and I actually had to drive my black truck that day. So my normal daily driver, the old Jeep, doesn't have a thermometer, but I drove the F-250, and so yeah, it said -1. Yeah, it was there for a few days. It was cold. It was, well, I guess what was nice was, I'm trying to remember, the sun shined really good Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Friday was brutal because the high was
Friday was brutal.
12 or something. But yeah, we're thawed out just about completely now.
Yeah, man. And it's supposed to rain for like 3 days now.
Yeah.
Well, that's
naturally, because we're going to be, I think, in the 60s tomorrow. When it's in the 60s this time of year, it's guaranteed to rain.
Yeah. Well, that's how I went deer hunting. It was funny. I went deer hunting Thursday afternoon, and that's when the winter storm was coming.
Well, see, and most of our listeners probably experienced it, because, I mean, unless they live in the deep, deep South, or we do have some international listeners, but right here in the National Weather Service in Memphis, we went from 45 to 11 in 5 hours.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's like a record or if they even keep track of
how quickly
the temperature. But yes, it was Thursday at lunch, because I know it was my last chance to feed cows before it really got nasty. I fed cows I had on a short sleeve like polo shirt and like just a light fleece pullover. Because it was like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
And by that night, I got home. It was like, well, we actually closed early. So it was probably on like 5 o'clock. Because it wasn't even dark, because I was filming some. It was already starting to sleet and spit snow, and it was like right at freezing. And then by the time you went to bed that night, it was down in single digits.
Oh, it was wild.
Incredible how fast it got that cold.
It was crazy. Like I said, I was in a tree stand. I got in a tree stand, and when I got there, it was not doing anything. Well, it was kind of spitting a little mist and kind of almost raining, and I was sitting up in the tree stand. Now I was geared up pretty good, and man, it was wild. I was sitting there. I don't even remember what time it was, but it was getting close to not last light, but it was getting darker. And all of a sudden, man, all them trees started whipping around, and I was like, golly. And then it was like hard sleet and snow was coming down, I got out of the tree stand because the trees were like, I mean, I was like rocking back and forth. And I'm like, man, I mean, I got this thing pretty secure on here, but I did not have a harness on, but I was in a ladder stand, so I felt pretty secure. 2-man ladder stand. I got down because the trees were like going nuts. It was blowing 20 miles an hour. And I walked around and just kind of stalked. Nothing was moving. And by the time when I walked in, the ground was clean. When I got in my truck, it was snow all over the ground. And I went that next morning, which I live to hunt. I love hunting in like the real shitty stuff. I don't know why, but I just like, well, we talked about that.
Yeah.
You just feel like a man. And, like I have to tuck my chest hair back in whenever I'm sitting there hunting. But, man, it was funny that Friday morning, one of my good buddies went and he listens to the show. He hunts, I let him hunt a place of mine that joins where I was at. And we were texting back and forth, and I'm in a ground blind. Like, I got a ground blind set up. I'm pretty comfortable. I'm like layered up. And a ground blind, I've got some of the windows closed, so like the wind is
You
not.
had your buddy heater going.
Oh, dude, I'm cozy, and I mean it's cold. I mean it is cold as shit, but like with the windows, the wind didn't just kill me. And he's hunting the ladder stand, and it is like the wind is blowing, and I know we're texting. He's like, it's like 7:00, and he's like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. And I'm like, you got to make it to 8:30. He's like, I'll try. We were texting back and forth, and he just went radio silent. And whenever I finally texted him around 8:30 and was like, I got to get to the house because our heat had gone out in our house.
Oh, wow.
So I was coming back. I had to meet the guy to work on the heat. And I meet him over at my cable. He's walking out, and he was like, I had to quit texting you because he said every time, he said my fingers would hurt so bad when I took my hands out of my gloves.
Well, that was exactly what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, texting doesn't sound like a good thing to do.
No, but that's what he was like. I mean, it was a Christmas vacation moment. I had ice in my eyelashes. My eyelashes were froze together on the ends, and I was like, all I could think of was the chick when they were out there cutting the tree, and she's like, her eyes were frozen, Clark.
yeah. Audrey.
Yeah. So, man, but yeah, it was brutal. Definitely chopped ice. I loved it, but from a livestock standpoint, I do appreciate the warmer temperatures.
Yeah, it just makes everything kind of a bitch to deal with, and it's just, I don't know, it's beautiful and it's neat for about 5 minutes.
I hate the snow. Yeah, I hate the snow.
It just, man.
I just like the cold temperatures.
Well, and it's like, because of course we're open, like we don't ever close. I mean, we closed early. Our main thing is get people home from the office before it gets dark.
Yeah.
Especially when you have those days where it's like it warmed up, but it's going to really freeze on the roads, But anyway.
And the roads got bad.
Yeah, we knew it was going to get bad on that Thursday afternoon, which in reality it was, I don't know, because the temperature was, the ground was pretty warm. The roads didn't get bad before anybody would have had a chance to get home. But we made the decision, go ahead and close early. And then, of course, Friday, it's just, like we were busy enough. We needed to be there because there's other places around that were closed. So we were getting some of their business. Still, it's just kind of, it's a weird day at work. And it's like, to add to that, it was Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And so it was like,
nobody wanted to be there.
Yeah. And it was just like, and we took Monday off like most people. I think that was Monday was the federal holiday for Christmas since Christmas fell on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, in hindsight, we should have just taken Friday, but of course we didn't know the weather was going to be like that.
Yeah.
Until, a few days before. But anyway, yeah, and so it's not a super profitable day to be open, but you still got to be there. And so it's just, I don't know. And then, of course you want your employees to be safe getting in, and then it's always a game. We're like, well, this person lives far away. Then, so I'm going to have all the ones that live closer. They have to get here.
Yeah.
Because I got to have some people there. We had probably.
Oh man, when I was machining, it did this, the roads iced up real bad. And a bunch of us were like, we won't be there. Dude, they had a guy come pick us all up.
Well, that's what we do that. Like
yeah.
I picked up 2 employees.
Did you? Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say they came around and just picked us.
And then then Dad picked up one, and then a few others like kind of carpooled, or like their husband brought them. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it got pretty rowdy for a little bit, but now we're here and we got a couple of different things. The first thing I wanted to jump in on is before we kind of got some cool stuff to kind of at the year end we want to get into, but I wanted to talk about this farm bill. So, okay, there you go. So they just passed the new bill or whatever.
Was that part of that the one that's been driving everybody crazy? Was the farm bill part of that? I'm very illiterate on some of these.
I think it says here the House on Friday averted a government shutdown by voting 225 to 201 in favor of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 23, the omnibus spending bill.
Yeah, the farm bill was just packed in that
with the like 4,000
Brazilian dollars. Yeah,
yeah.
It's like 18,000 pages long.
Yes.
Like literally, you couldn't read it in like a year's time if you tried. It's just stupid. It's laughable. It is a freaking joke. When you see like the Rand Paul videos or Rand Paul, excuse me. They're both good dudes, but
Ron's dead, ain't he?
He may have, I don't know. Rand Paul, yeah. Where he's like just pulling out some of the total just bogus crap that's in there. It's like, what? Like, yeah, I'm supposed to, tell me again why I pay my effing taxes so that y'all can blow money on this bullshit.
Trust me, I'm with you, man. I know. So not to get us fired up here.
Not to get too far off topic. What pertaining to the farm bill?
Well, it says here it was $1.7 trillion bill.
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's pocket change. It includes 12 separate bills that cover everything from natural disasters to military pay to foreign aid. And there is several ag things in there. Now, ag, I'll tell you guys, I mean, but some of the listeners may not know, one of the things that sucks a lot of times on the ag side, if they're going to put money to the farmers, oftentimes welfare or food stamps gobbles up the vast majority of it.
Really,
they're not farming.
Yeah, it's kind of agriculture, but it's like, yeah, right. It makes...
And they do that because they claim that's the only way they can ever get the bills to pass. Like, because we're such a small percentage, I guess they're kind of like, yeah. They
just pack all kinds of bullshit into everywhere, like squeeze it in. I mean, it's like,
yep.
Let's give $300,000 to studying some snail in some stream in South Carolina. You know?
And all the gay frogs.
Yeah.
Here's some of the highlights. I'll hit on some of these and we'll kind of discuss them and then like that. I think that'd be good. So the first one here, it says directs USDA to index all administrative and operating expense in the crop insurance program for inflation. So I don't really even understand.
Yeah, like some of this stuff, it's like I got to stop and read it like a word at a time. Like, what is this even saying?
Yeah, they're apparently. I'm assuming this is if they're gonna the operating expense of crop insurance. Sorry, for inflation. That sounds to me like they're gonna probably increase the amount of subsidy for crop insurance. We'll kind of skip that one pretty quick. But all right, the next one's research. And man, this is like I don't know. I'd like to look into these researches, but they got the ag research funding will increase by $175 million to $3.45 billion. That includes monies for Agriculture Research Service, National Institute of Food and Agriculture and Food Research, Sustainable Ag and Education Program. I'm just kind of curious. I wonder what research that goes into.
Well, and that's what I'm immediately what gets me boiling mad is, and I shouldn't even probably go here because I don't know, but I'd be 0% surprised if that doesn't fund some of the research for like
some of the politicians' family.
Well, I'm sure that, but like meat alternatives. Meat and stuff like that. And like that just like, no, that's anti-agriculture.
Yeah.
Like,
that wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not going to be able to sit here and research that.
Yeah.
And then get a quick answer on my phone as we're discussing it. So we might have to table that. But yeah, it's like, yeah, what is it? I mean, yeah, if they're legitimately funding research for, new crop varieties for traits that make us much more efficient and sustainable.
Yeah, they got the sustainable in there.
Oh, I'm sure.
Sustainable agriculture research.
You got to have those buzzwords. Yeah, stuff like that. But I mean, are they using it for just total BS? To fund some, grad students research, on something we've never even heard of, and will never ever make it anywhere mainstream. And I know when it comes to research and a lot of those projects, you kiss a lot of frogs to find one prince. Sometimes, but. Yeah, like some of this research and stuff, it's funny. You're like, what? Like, there's zero chance of that ever becoming useful information for the greater world ever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they just need something to research, apparently.
Well, I mean, it funds.
They got nothing better to do.
Yeah, I mean.
Man, you almost messed up.
Yeah, I did.
So then on the conservation thing here, it includes... here's your word, the Sustains Act, which allows, and I was just reading this, and I've kind of got, I kind of feel like I might have a little mixed feelings on this one. It says it allows corporations and other private entities to contribute funding for conservation projects, and it authorizes USDA to match the donations. I don't know that I like that, because I feel like that opens the door for a lot of USDA government money matched private entities to contribute funding for conservation projects. Like, conservation projects sounds really great, but that's a really broad term.
Yeah, I just want to, somehow like, and get them to speak to you truthfully. Like, well, okay, what's the angle?
Scope here?
Like, there's an angle. Like, somebody's got this put in there specifically because they got a buddy that's. Yeah, I mean, this isn't done just like, oh yeah, let's give so many dollars for fun. No, it's like somebody needs a favor from somebody who has it. Maybe it's something that legitimately is important to them and they're passionate about.
Yep.
But like something is in mind whenever these.
It is. Anytime you bring to me, when you start mixing the private entities with the government entities, it just doesn't end well. Like, I just don't. I think there needs to be a private sector. I mean, like we've said before, get the government out of here.
Let's say the government's so deep into everything. Like, we don't have any. Like, we don't have a total free market. Like, the government intervenes everywhere.
Yeah. All right. It also says here, and this one's just funny to me. Reauthorizes the Pesticide Registration Improvement Act, which imposes fees for maintenance and registration of active ingredients. It boosts the registration and maintenance fees 30%, and it allows the EPA to raise the fees by 5% in 2024 and 2026. So that's going to probably make chemicals become more expensive. Like, when I'm reading that, all right, they're going to increase the EPA fees, and then the EPA can continue to increase fees. So when I read that, I'm like, okay, this sounds to me like a good way for chemical prices to have to get jacked up a little bit more.
Yeah. Most all these alphabet groups could be done away with entirely.
Yep.
EPA, ATF,
ATF, definitely. Yeah, I'm with you on that. EPA and ATF. If we get rid of both of those, I'd be pretty happy. I'd have a machine gun in here. This one was kind of interesting to me, and this obviously it must have happened because of this year. So $1.48 billion is included on top of annual appropriations funding for the Army Corps of Engineers to make emergency repairs and navigation improvements needed after extreme weather events, including low water on the Mississippi River. Yeah. So that one, to me, when I read that, I'm like, okay, that one makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Like, let's, if the,
and then I'm like, well, how much of that are they just going to waste?
Yeah. With us. Yeah.
Stupid shit. But.
Oh yeah. Probably the majority, I'm sure. Relief aid, $3.7 billion in farm disaster aid to cover eligible 2022 crop and livestock losses, with $494.5 million to be used for livestock losses due to drought or wildfires as part of overall $40.6 billion for disasters. So that sounds good. Again, and I'm cynical of a lot of these.
Well, and like the whole disaster relief payments, whatnot. Like, look, we've all taken that money at some point. I mean, they're giving it away. You got to, if they're offering it to you, I don't guess you have to take it. You can.
No, Dad and I were actually talking about that the other day, and he was telling me, an old farmer around here, that was one of his senses of his points of pride, was he never once took a government payment.
Well, right, and I can understand that. I don't know how somebody who's full-time farmer, like that being their livelihood, that's tough because, I mean, it's just your money you're getting back, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and so if you're letting everybody else take advantage of that, like, you're not on a level playing field with them anymore. And to me, you know, like there are some disasters that are just flat out freaking disasters. But at the same time, like, there have been times whenever we've been eligible for payments, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was a little dry this year. And like, I mean, some people might not would have made it without this payment, but you almost kind of hate to say it, but then I'll say it. Well, maybe they weren't really good operators to begin with. You know, they weren't ready. You know, they weren't prepared for the fact that, you know what, we might not get a rain. You know, we might not. You know, and there's other disasters besides, you know, floods and, you know, problems besides just drought. But I don't know, and I feel.
No, I am on the page with you 100%.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear, because of course you doing it full time, me being a part timer, like it's easy.
Well,
because I can afford to, like, the farm is not how I put food on my table, or not solely. You know, at the end of the day,
that's the point of crop insurance. You know, like that. That's the way I look at it. All right.
But then you'd argue, well, that's subsidized too. So.
It is. I know, and it is. But that's that is the thing that, like.
Well, it's kind of natural selection. It's like, yeah, we need events like this to take out the weaker, poorer operators, get them out of the way, let the better operators gobble up that ground. And
well, and as both of you
don't want just the bigger guys to get bigger, but give opportunity to folks that are going to do a better job and can do even in those tough times.
And that's the thing, you know, both of us have talked about how these farm disaster things. See, with the row crop side, I can't speak on the livestock side. On the row crop side, there will be a cap. Typically, there's a cap on there. We did not, to my knowledge, there wasn't one this year. I did not get any. I got no government funding this year.
The last thing I got was CFAP payments and the coronavirus food assistance program, whatever.
Yeah, but see, there was the problem with programs like this. Like, honestly, I guess the problem is people are full of shit. People are liars, or play the system. Because
the people figure out loopholes.
Yeah, like we've said before, you know,
have multiple entities.
The guy that works 20,000 acres has 12 tax entities, and he might cap out at 125,000 relief funds. But you multiply 125,000 times 12, he's getting a pretty fat check from the government.
Yeah.
And so that's where my issue with a lot of these becomes, it makes the big guys like what is it? An infallible.
Too big to fail.
Yeah.
It's like when the government bails them out. And so then they don't even have to worry about it. That's where I had a real issue with the government bailing out, like General Motors.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe some economists could tell me why, they had to do it. Otherwise it would have caused our entire economy to collapse. I don't know, but I'm like, no, those dumbasses weren't good enough at their finances to be able to survive a recession. And yet these other companies were. It's like, yeah, pardon my language, fuck them. Let them go. Okay, y'all screwed up. Let's, no. I don't know.
That's me. That's how I feel with farming. If you can't, all right. We both like Yellowstone. Are you caught up?
Yes, because there wasn't one this last week. I'm pretty sure.
You had to have enjoyed this last one, because they really talked about the meat. They
did, and it was neat.
Because she talked about the meat packer, I think.
It's Jamie's new side piece or whatever. She's main piece, his only piece.
Yeah.
Now
we're kind of. I don't feel we're dropping a spoiler, because this is not something that the average listener is going to really care about.
Well, and this is that episode dropped 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
because it wasn't one for Christmas.
But
anyway,
the people watching the show ain't necessarily watching it being like, they're talking about the meat packers. You
right?
know?
Well, well, whenever I think is it Sarah's her name?
I don't know, the chick that's naked every time. Now you don't see it, but she's naked with him.
Whoa, I'm gonna go back and rewatch.
Yeah, no, but her and Jamie never have clothes on
She's
together.
She's a nice looking lady.
She's very attractive. She is.
But yeah, she talks about how, and I don't totally agree with her, but she basically laid it all out that 4 meat packers, and a Brazilian owned meat packer is the biggest one in our country.
Yeah.
And she goes on to say that raising cattle in the United States we're going to outsource our cattle production to Brazil, just as we've outsourced,
Everything.
manufacturing to China.
Yeah.
That was a dang good point. I was like, whoa. And I saw somebody, I think it was on Twitter, because I follow a bunch of ag accounts, like, this is going to get interesting, because apparently Taylor Sheridan, I think, is like a celebrity speaker or whatever at the NCBA convention or one of their meetings, like whoa, like, and he's writing this stuff in, which of course I'm sure people at NCBA weren't privy to what was going to happen in those future episodes.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, this might get a little bit awkward.
He might ruffle some feathers
Might
there.
get a little awkward.
We need to have Taylor Sheridan on the show.
Yeah, that'd be a good yet, but good luck to us on that one. But yeah, it's like, whoa, because that really flies in the face of, because the NCBA is, definitely, joined at the hip to those 4 major packers.
Well, and I was like thoroughly impressed. Like when I was watching that, I was like, wow,
they're pretty knowledgeable on like actually some things that are currently going on in the industry.
Yeah. And then it was interesting to me when Beth has the sit down with her dad, and she's trying to get him to go the route of meat, like doing the meat thing.
Right. I wonder where they're going to go with that, because I can tell you all the obstacles they're going to run into.
Yeah. Well, they got to do something, because I don't see them sending. I'm going to try to say this without revealing anything, but if I can't even say it without spoiling, so I won't go there, because some people may not have caught up yet, but I am curious to see where they go with it. But
they've got so many cattle, like for them to sell enough beef direct to make a huge difference would be I mean, you don't want to say you can't do it.
Well, they said 8 million pounds was what that 4 6s was selling.
Yeah, and I don't know how realistic that is, and that may be exactly accurate.
Yeah.
But problem they've got is, the opposite problem what I have. They've got all the cattle, but no people to sell it to up there.
Yeah.
There's just relatively small population around their area. Now they could ship it.
Yeah.
You can go through the process of that. Whereas like I'm fortunate in that we live in a relatively densely populated area compared to some of the cattle producing parts of the country. And so I've got more demand for my product than I could.
Yeah, you could sell 16 million pounds.
I don't know about I've got 8, not million.
8 million pounds.
I've got 8 head that I'm feeding out right now. So
he has 8 million head of cattle.
Yeah.
Bobby Lee is the largest cattle farmer, probably globally.
Yeah. If you had that many, I think, you would.
That's what I was trying to think. I bet there's nobody that has 8 million head.
But
could you imagine counting 8 million head of cattle?
Yeah, you'd have to start early.
Yeah.
But so and that would be where they could save their bacon more or less.
But it was really, see, Beth made some remark about.
Well, and even John makes the point of, he said, people have tried it. It doesn't work as far as opening their own meat packing facility.
Yeah.
And all that. And he makes the point, he said, we're not in the beef business, we're in the cattle business.
Yeah. But see, I appreciated him or her saying, you're a shitty businessman, but a great rancher. And this is the same conversation I've had with several buddies in the industry about how we know some really good farmers, but they are just shitty businessmen. Yeah. And like, to me, to be a full-fledged farmer today, you got to be a businessman, because you got to make it pencil out, because back in the day,
or if you're like our buddy Lee, you're using somebody like him to do your marketing for you.
Yes. Yeah. And see, but like, back in the day, I mean, I know guys that weren't even very big farmers and they were drawing $250,000 cotton subsidy checks. And like, even they had family members that didn't farm that were drawing $250,000 subsidy checks. So it's like, back then, if you're drawing that kind of cash, like I always heard some of those guys, they paid all their rent off of subsidy checks. They didn't come out of pocket. None of their crop income went towards rent. All of their crop income went to pay off. They paid off inputs, and then the rest was inputs and then equipment costs, and the rest was to them. Whereas a normal guy has input cost, equipment cost, and rent costs. The government was paying their rent.
Yeah.
And so, if you got that, I mean, you're talking, that might be $150 an acre or more that you're not coming out of.
Yeah.
And so when you have that much leeway and range there, hell, you don't have to be a very good businessman.
Right.
And so that was one thing I appreciated on there with Yellowstone. Like, there is things with that show that I'm like, man, some of these people do kind of have an idea about what's going on. And so that was a roundabout way to talk about, like, farm disaster aid. I don't want it. I don't want to see this. Again, you're in a catch-22 where if they put it out, you really have to take it. I mean, again, hell, I pay taxes and pay a painful amount of taxes. So, I mean, to part my mind, it's kind of like, well, that's my money anyways. But I don't want them in there because, to me, more than anything, it props up the big guys and just makes them just damn near unstoppable.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. And of course, yeah, I'm convinced it's probably designed like that for a reason because, they've got enough friends in high places and, they're going to, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yep. All right, let's see here. Any others that are interesting? There's one, a one-time payment to each rice producer on a U.S. farm in the 2022 year. I had heard rice was the only thing that got a payment this past year. That's not really interesting. Authorizes $100 million for USDA to make pandemic assistance payments to cotton merchandisers that purchased cotton from a U.S. producer from March 1st. I don't really know why. There's a broadband. They're going to try to help get people like you. You finally got your broadband internet.
Well, we're on the books, like supposedly.
Okay, I thought you got it already.
No, like within like the next month, we're supposed to have it. I think it was about 4 weeks ago they told us we'd have it in 8 weeks. And so, I mean, I'm not holding my breath, but, I've gotten so used to not having it. Like, I mean, literally, if I want to do something legit on the internet, well, like, I'll upload video for this to YouTube tomorrow. Be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons.
That's right.
But I have to do that at my office in town. Like, I can't even, I can't upload a 15-minute YouTube video, much less an hour-long one.
Yeah.
It just, like, it will not upload. Like, it won't even try.
Yeah.
And, I can go into town and it uploads in like 10 minutes, literally. But anyway, yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the government really has a responsibility to give me internet.
They want to give us everything, man. Yeah, actually, speaking of giving us the next one.
Well, they want us to
be relying
on them for everything.
And this is perfect for the next one. Food assistance is the next section. Make permanent a summer EBT food stamp program to provide up to $40 a month per child. It allows grab and go or home delivery of meals to kids in rural areas as an alternative to meals in group settings. Any summer meals benefits issued to a household in the summer of 2023 couldn't exceed $120 per child. They will will be required to establish a program beginning in the summer of 24, annually thereafter. So this is when school's out, they still get their food. And like, look, I understand like their argument. It's like, well, kids shouldn't go hungry.
Right. I agree with that. Now,
yeah. And
again, I don't know. I would rather it be a situation where we relied on,
church charities.
Yeah. Groups like that. Now I know maybe you can't 100% rely on that, but I think at the very least we need to haul like that entire system where they can buy, produce, whether it's fruits, vegetables, milk, cheese, meat, obviously.
Talking about the EBT program?
Yeah, the food stamps, whatever.
Where they can't buy beer and cigarettes.
Well, and Twinkies and corn flakes and potato chips, stuff like that we now know is, one, it's just not very good for you, and two, it's like a gallon of milk and like a dozen eggs. I mean, stuff like that is really inexpensive for the sustenance you actually get out of it. Like, incredibly good for you and not that expensive. Like a dozen eggs, like, I mean, my Lord, like, just especially for like growing kids, like, it costs what, $3 or $4 right now.
I don't know. I ain't bought any in a long time, but yeah.
We've had to buy a few because I've only got one that's laying right now. But
I have none that are laying right now. Mine ain't worth a damn right now.
But like stuff like that. And I know I don't have to buy much meat at all. Really rarely do I buy my ribeye roast that I cooked for Christmas, just because somebody was asking me, like, or somebody saw I posted, they're like, I want to get that out of my next account. I was like, well, you can, but I was like, I don't even keep a ribeye roast out of mine because that's like all your ribeyes you can get.
Yeah.
That is the entire ribeye. And so I like mine individually, and I just buy one ribeye roast a year for Christmas. But anyway, I got off topic there.
Well, you're good. Well, that's kind of it. The next one kind of talks about carbon, a Growing Climate Solutions Act, and kind of gets into some stuff. But that's kind of the gist of the ag stuff that's in the bill. But I wanted to run through that a little bit. I just thought it was interesting. I'm cynical on 99% of the stuff that they got in there ag related, and I mean, anytime the government's involved, I'm usually pretty cynical. So
yeah, part of me wants to just go full blown, like, give nobody no money for anything. Let the peasants figure it out. Like, let us figure it out and see how we do. Well, it'd be painful for a while, and I know some industries are so far down the rabbit hole of taking government handouts they may not could ever recover or make it. But like, yeah, whatever.
Well, that's what Dad and I were talking about when we were talking about because he did, and like I said, he told me there was one farmer that had never taken a government payment of any sort. And I mean, he's an old guy now. He's probably pushing 90. He might be 90. And never took a government payment. And we were talking about the benefit of never doing that, never being involved with the insurance, like not saying not having insurance, because I got a crop insurance. I mean, I have crop insurance, and my crop insurance salesman is a buddy of mine, and I'm like, this year I'm going to use some crop insurance on my corn. So like, I'm thankful for that. But if you have crop insurance, you're paying completely out of pocket. No government ties whatsoever. The freedom you would have, because there's some land, like I've looked at land, like, all right, take for instance, like river bottom ground down there. If you had no ties to the government, meaning never used any programs, never signed up for anything, never took a single payment, nothing, you could go down there with a bulldozer and a track hoe, and you could, like, the farm we duck hunted down there for years. Yeah. There's probably 50 more acres you could gain, but it can't be cleared because it's a wetlands. And me and him were talking, we actually think you could go, if you were not tied to the government whatsoever and you own that land, you could go in there and just bulldoze those trees. Yeah. And you could farm the hell out of it. And
it's classified as a wetland. People out there are thinking, oh my God, y'all are destroying things. I mean, it floods, like the river gets in there occasionally. Yeah. But like, you go down there right now, it's just wide open woods that really, it's wildlife habitat.
The growing season, that place is dry.
Yeah. And it's not like, I don't know. And again, I'm not a,
but I'm just using that as an example.
Right, you could do it, but yeah, now if you did that, they'd fine you, and
because a guy down there did it, and he got fined $10,000 a day. He was getting fined $10,000 a day, and he actually, the old story is that he kind of pulled a slick one on the government. It was
they put some other land back into it But some of that, I know the story.
That land was already in the river. You know, like
they've got some land on a deed that's actually out in the river.
Yeah, so he gained the farmland. He didn't lose any land.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, I'm all for anybody
sticking it to the man.
Yep.
So you had a cool question for us.
We were brainstorming like, what are we going to talk about tonight? I was like, let's come up with each of us just for our personal operations or whatnot. The best decision we feel like we made or best thing we did in 22, and then our worst decision so yeah, I don't know. And then as I got to think about it, I was like, oh man, this is kind of tough. Like,
well, mine's kind of controversial.
Okay. Well, you want to go first?
Oh man, I don't know.
You want to do our best or worst first?
Let's do our worst first, because my worst is not controversial.
Okay.
All right, you lead off with your worst.
Well, and I had trouble, and I guess because I think I've done such a great job, but I was like, what was the worst decision I made, worst thing? And I mean, mine wasn't anything like, I bought a load of calves and they all died or something,
Yeah.
So they were, I kind of actually came up with three that were relatively small. But one's probably something every cow-calf guy, at least probably around here, smaller guy, is I didn't cull strictly enough on my cows. I kept some cows I shouldn't have that had checked open or that I knew or probably should have gotten rid of. And then, that's what happens. You keep them one more year and they have the same problems again, or they end up dying on you and you're like, damn it, I knew I needed to get rid of her, but there's some sentimental value there. I let my heart get in the way of my head. This again, a relatively small one. Made the decision to fertilize in the middle of the drought. And it was one of those times, which, I mean, in my defense, we had like an 80% chance of rain the next day. And I remember like my brother cussing me because he's like, it's not going to rain now because you.
Yeah.
And I did it anyway. And
I remember that.
And I made the decision to use the tractor I just bought that I didn't know anything about, and it broke down on me. So I made a variety of bad decisions.
I had to come try to help you out.
Yeah, I made a variety of bad decisions that day. I mean, I spent a couple $1,000s on fertilizer, and then it didn't rain for like another month, basically. So that was pretty much a waste. And then my regret, and this is one you know all about, was the damn camera not running when the bull.
Oh man, yeah,
tossed me like a rag doll.
That's mine,
the
and your
camera
both
was right. Like I had. It wasn't even that I didn't have the camera. It was right there. I just didn't have it clicked on.
Yep.
Because the damn battery was nearly dead.
Dude, that is.
I've thought about that. I was like, man, for a guy trying to carve out a little spot on YouTube like that.
That was gold.
That would have been.
You would have hit 1 million views, I bet. I mean, that one could have hit 1 million.
I just thought about it. I was like, I could have done a lot of different stuff. That made different little shorts videos, like some that could have been more serious, some that have been funny.
I'm telling you, it would have hit 1 million views.
I think you could have done some shorts that would have like it.
Yeah,
because that was.
You would be famous.
I don't know what it looked like because I was.
Yeah,
the one in the air.
You would be in the next Fast and the Furious with The Rock. Like that would have changed your life.
Yeah,
don't lose any sleep over it, but you would be famous and rich right now.
But I was like, I learned a valuable lesson. Keep the damn camera rolling, especially when you're doing something like that really has the potential for turning dangerous in a hurry.
Yeah.
But anyway, those were my worst decisions or biggest regrets for 22.
Well,
on the farm.
My biggest regret is stopping my camera.
Yeah, because you were actively recording.
Yeah, standing there videoed. I mean, it hadn't been 10 seconds. Yeah. I hit stop 10 seconds and you get bulldozed. And I was like, dang it, man. Yep. So that is my biggest regret. Worst moves. Now, in hindsight's always 2020, obviously. But I would have planted 0 corn. Like, that's obviously my first one. When you text me that, I was like, wouldn't have planted a single ear of corn. We'll see. I'm curious to see what it looks like going into this year if it left a lot of nitrogen on the table, because a lot of times behind corn I don't fertilize with beans because you don't have to. I mean, I cut some beans this year behind corn that cut 62 bushel an acre. So you don't have to. So I'm curious to see if maybe because the corn did so poorly, if there's a lot of nitrogen left in the soil.
Well, a year from now, it'll be interesting to look back on the cotton.
Yeah.
See what, if you wish you had planted 1,000 acres instead of 200, or if you,
Yes.
or if you're selling a cotton planter.
Yeah, no, yeah, we will see. I'm excited for that one. But my other one, I just had it in my mind. Aside from not planting corn, dang, what was I had one other. I was kind of like you. I was like, well, I felt like overall I made pretty good decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I could nitpick all kinds of little things.
Yeah,
yeah.
That was my main one. Essentially, would be don't plant any corn. If I could go back in time and be like,
just spend 100% beans.
100% beans.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and like say in hindsight, but then sure as you do that, yeah.
Well, I just remembered. So wheat got up to $11 at one point, and I did not book any wheat, and that would have been, I would have booked some wheat and planted some wheat going into this year. Never didn't do it, and so
what could you sell wheat for now?
For gosh, wheat is really like I said,
much less than that, I assume.
Yeah, like I said, at one point it got up to $11. Right now, wheat, they don't even have it. Okay, it's $7.69
for new crop.
Yeah. So I mean, you're talking a nearly $4 difference.
Yeah.
And so it was
a big difference.
Yes, huge difference. Wheat is a pain in the ass. Like, it's one good thing. Not having wheat, you're not scrambling trying to get it out.
Yeah, because you're in the middle of planting. Like, we're usually not done planting by the time you're then needing to stop planting to harvest your wheat.
Yep. Yep. So now, all right. So I'll go into my best thing, I guess, best decision of 2022. And like I said, this one's controversial to some people. You might have an idea of what it is.
I'm feeling where you're going.
Yeah. Like, and we haven't discussed it really. But it's public knowledge. I mean, hell, you can look up anything and see it. But I sold a farm. So it was a farm in Covington. I had killed the biggest buck on it, so I was done with it. No, I'm just kidding. But I did kill the buck on it. But the farm, it was very mediocre ground, and it was 146 acres, and I did not own the very middle. And I had been trying to I had bought this farm in sections.
Where you work in the middle?
Yes. Yeah, and that was the worst part of it. It had like the Grand Canyon on it, pretty much. And I had been I had structures put in on my pieces, and the part that they still owned needed structures.
When you say structures for the listeners, like water
structure, yeah, because
erosion control structures.
Yes. Yes, I had
made upgrades.
Yeah, I had
conservation and sustainability.
For sustainability, it was in cover crop. And I mean, I was trying, my goal, I mean, I've never purchased a farm with the idea of selling a farm. We had a good friend, Steve Moffitt. We both knew Mr. Steve really well. He was the guy that I used to deal with at FSA, and great guy. He passed away a couple years ago.
About almost 2 years, yeah.
He, great guy. And I'll never forget, man, when I bought that farm, he told me, he said, "You're going to make a lot of money off of this farm one day." And I was like, man, I mean, I just didn't think anything about it because I've never bought a farm with the idea of selling a farm. And so I bought the farm, and I bought several pieces. The only thing I lacked was 40 acres. It was actually an L shape in the very middle. I had road access to both other sides, but we came into the farm onto that 40 acres. And I had been trying every single year. I would ask them about selling that 40 acres to me. And I never could get them to sell it to me. Well, then they finally did decide to sell it. Well, when they decided to sell it, it was like, I mean, the price was so out of my league, there was no way I could touch it. They ended up selling it they sold it. I offered them pretty big money for row crop land on it, and they ended up selling it for like $2 or $3 grand an acre more than what I offered them. So, I mean, they made their money. But I got a call from the realtor, and he was like, "They want to buy yours." And I played hardball with them because I didn't want to sell it, but they screwed my farm essentially because, like, I've told people, because there's people that are going to be like, "Man, I can't believe you should never sell." Like they love the John Dutton attitude of never sell. Yeah. But there is a time when it makes sense to sell. And this was not ground. This wasn't Big C's land. You know,
you weren't the seventh generation to farm this.
No, this was very mediocre ground. Like
Well, you bought it in what, like 2014?
It was 2015, first farm I bought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess
any sentimental value, it was the first farm that I bought.
Yeah.
And but it was mediocre. You know, best corn crop I ever had on it. Probably shelled 150 bushel. Best bean crop I ever had. I don't even know if they might have hit 50 bushel. Maybe. I don't know if they ever even hit 50 bushel on that place. So it was very average, mediocre ground. And that area has gotten so damn cutthroat that I just didn't even, I mean, I was kind of like, I had a dumb asshole that would drive his foiler across the whole farm over to go hang out with his jabronis in the hood. It was in the hood over there. And he would drive all the way across it. I've put up signs. They'd shoot my sign. So, I mean, there was a large part of me when it sold. I was like, gosh, what a relief, like, to be done with this. But it also put me in a position to further advance my operation and pay off some equipment, look to hopefully purchase some more land. It just put me in a stronger position financially. And, I mean, it came at a great time because we just so happened to have a terrible drought and the corn was god-awful.
Yeah.
It's not how I wanted it to pan out, but, like, it came at a good time. So, for me, I mean, selling that was, I mean, I lost a lot of sleep over the decision of whether I was making the right move or not. And because I had a good friend of mine that has been in the industry, and I told him, I was like, man, you know, I feel like I should never sell. I was like, you know, some people might have something to say. And he was like, people are always going to have something to say.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And he said, he goes, here's the way you look at it. All right, you don't sell it. You might have a couple people that pat you on the back and they're like, good job. He said, you do sell it. You can pay off some equipment. You can do this. You can advance your operation. You can put your family in a better position. Which one is better? Like a couple pats on the back or the second option? So that's the option I picked, and I feel like it was the best decision I made of 22.
Yeah. I figured that would be your best. I knew it would be your best or your worst. What way that?
Yeah,
because it was probably your biggest decision.
It was definitely probably the biggest decision I've ever made.
Yeah, but I figured that would be your best decision. Yeah, because
hopefully years from now, like, all my neighbors don't sell their land for $100,000 an acre, and I'm not like, that was the worst decision of my life.
And even if that happens, I mean, you still made a bunch of money on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Either way, so I don't know.
I never had the money. It's kind of like where we've said the guys
you can't lose something you never had.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, some people would look at that and be like, well, look at all the money I lost because I sold it when I did. Well, no, you never
had that money.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So what was your best?
My best wasn't nearly that big of a decision, but
you got a vasectomy.
Yes.
Did you get a vasectomy?
No. I am like, look, people who do, good for you, man. But and I always, and I'm kind of half joking, but I'm like, hell, I might decide to have a second family when I'm 70, or something. So, it was one of the great things about being a dude. We can
keep on, man.
We can be.
Hell, society may collapse. We may have to repopulate the world.
Oh, like every guy loves, like, that fantasy where you're like, you're looking around a room, you're standing there, it's like, if the apocalypse happened, only the people in this room survived, I would have to repopulate the earth.
You love the scenario depending upon the room you're in.
Well, yeah, you're like, oh, you got to do what you got to do.
If you're at a Walmart, you might be,
right.
You might be.
But right. What? And look, it's really dark to think about. Like, it's like, man, like, my wife and kids are out of town right now, man. Something terrible happened. I mean, I feel older every day, but I'm still young enough. I would have another family, and I mean, and I know they can reverse a vasectomy. Hell, I know several people that have had one reversed and had kids. But I don't know. I don't know if I was like, if we were on kid like number 4, number 5, I might be like, all right,
enough's enough. Yeah.
But I'm blessed. I got 2 healthy kids, and we're not planning on having any more, but if that happened, it happened. I mean,
it's kind of how I live. That's how I am, man.
Well, and I'm like, and I mean, I'm not going to get too personal, but there's other ways to prevent pregnancy than me having to get snipped.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
You just abstain from sex. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Celibacy, man. That's that works for the monks.
Oh no. And look, every married guy out there knows if my wife put an ultimatum out there that
either no more or you get a vasectomy.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be on the phone with the urologist tomorrow.
Yeah.
But women have that kind of power.
They do. That's why empires have fallen.
Oh yeah, it's the most powerful weapon to have ever existed is a woman.
A woman's smile.
That's right. Her eyes, her legs, something.
Yeah.
Something in between. But anyway, before we get in trouble, we'll move on. So my best decision was not a vasectomy. It was when we decided, because of the drought, to go ahead and sell our steers early.
Yeah. Y'all did catch a good one there.
Well, normally we sell basically Thanksgiving, and we sold, I guess it ended up being about 2 months early, maybe 2.5 months. It was maybe close to 3 months even. And I actually, the reason we decided to sell, I kind of stumbled into this decision. It was more, my brother's place had really gotten dry.
Yeah, his place looks like a desert.
Yeah, he probably not quite as good a ground. And then I think they really were just that much drier on the other side of the county.
Yeah.
And we knew we were going to sell all our calves in one big group, put his and mine together. And so, but then when that happened, my grass was still in decent shape to begin with. And then it started raining.
Yeah.
And so then I had all this extra grass. Well, I've then been able to move my cows, my cow-calf herd, which normally I don't run on that farm. I've been able to move them there. Heck, they're still grazing right now. I've got stockpiled grass. I carried them some hay last week just because, of course, the weather was getting rough. We knew we were getting a little snow. I think they would have still been, it wasn't enough snow to have totally kept them from eating the stockpile. But, yeah, it's going to be sometime in January before I have to move them home and really start officially feeding them for the winter. So,
yeah. No, y'all did seem like y'all caught that at the perfect time.
And it's got me thinking, like, man, maybe I should do that from now on. The flip side of that is if we had kept those steers, because it was right at 3 months, because we figured another 100 days we would have had them. And with the rate of gain we get on just that grass, they'd have weighed another 100 pounds. The market, just from that standpoint, the market was good when we sold them. It was still good when we could have sold them later, but it wasn't like it jumped or dropped. It wasn't so much that. It was just we made money on them because the market did run with us from March until when we did sell in August. Yeah. And so, I mean, if we made money on them, then got rid of them in time enough to save some of that feed for other animals. And otherwise I wouldn't have been in a bad shape on hay, but right now with just the hay I put up myself, I'm going to be close, but I think I might make it. Whereas not, I would have been feeding hay to those cows in November. Yeah. And, I would have been nearly running out already.
Dang.
And now I'm really haven't even gotten much into feeding just yet. So I think that was a good decision. Yeah. It has me thinking like, okay, what am I doing in the future? Which I think I've decided I'm going to go heifers this year, run a smaller number, but get them bred, sell bred heifers, try to probably have just a little fewer head, but just ways to add more value to that individual animal. So
yeah, well there you go, man. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, that was at least as far as the farm goes.
And I need to add too, for people listening, I own other land, and I don't want people being like, he's getting out of farming. Selling that farm was just a part of it. I own 2 other farms, so that was not, and that was the worst of my 3. So just wanted to clarify that. Now,
like you didn't sell the farm.
Yeah, I'm not done farming.
Let me start off with 2 words: made in America.
Made in America. So I think it's my turn today.
Yes, because I did the ballistic ink last week.
That's right. So every man needs one of these. Now, I've got one of them. Actually, I've got two because I'll go ahead and reveal. It's Surefire. You got anything from Surefire?
I don't think so. What do they make?
They make flashlights.
Oh, I may have one then.
But they make weapons lights that'll mount like on pistols and ARs, and they also make just good old fashioned flashlights. And I got to looking because I was like, man, I think they even make the batteries. What got me thinking was I got a box of the Surefire batteries in my toolbox over there, and the batteries are made in the USA. And I was like, wow, that's
what is it? Their own brand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Surefire batteries. That's what when I saw that, like
do they make just like double A's, triple A's, stuff like that?
I don't know if they make those. These are the like CR 123s or whatever they are that are like pretty common in weapons lights and stuff. Yeah. They're very tactical. It says Surefire's tactical illumination tools.
I may have one of their flashlights. My dad is like the best for like Christmas, giving you like some fancy flashlight or pocket knife. Like that's his go-to. You're either getting a
good flashlight
or a pocket knife.
Well, you can never have too many of either one of those.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the greatest dude gift ever.
That is. That's a great, I've actually, I got to say, I've not really thought about flashlights like as great gifts, because you think about when the power's going out, it's great to have like a multitude of flashlights. Yeah. But it says here, since our founding, Surefire has been committed to being a U.S. manufacturer. All Surefire illumination products are designed, perfected, and manufactured in the USA with the finest materials. So,
Surefire, I'll have to look because I'm like,
see, their Streamlight is very similar to Surefire. I've got some of their lights.
I can't swear that I have one by any means.
And Streamlight makes a lot of theirs in the USA. They're another one. I've got the TLR1 on a pistol, and a lot of their stuff's made in the USA, but not all of it. But every bit of Surefire, if I understand correctly, is American made.
I'm disappointed to say I don't have any weapons lights. Yeah, like on any of mine. I'm just
man. You need to get you one on there.
You're right. For especially,
you got a Glock 17.
I do not.
Glock 19.
I have a Glock 19.
There you go. Slap you a Surefire under there. I think the 19, it's got the Picatinny under the front, don't it?
Yes.
Because that's my go-to is the 19X.
Yeah, I could do so much. I'm embarrassed to say with my firearms how little I do with them compared to what I should be.
I've got a stupid
accessorizing or, I want to.
Yeah.
It's just, I just don't prioritize that as far as time.
I probably too heavily prioritize.
Yeah.
To a downfall.
Whether it's actually getting out and getting to the range and shooting, or just, adding simple little accessories like that. Like, that's the gun you want on your nightstand.
Yeah. No, that's my nightstand pistol is actually, it's a 17. It's a Glock 17. And I put Trijicon night sights on it. I got a Surefire light mounted on it, and I put the swelled mag well so I can do some quick reloads. And so if I have to pump 17 rounds into somebody followed by another one, I can slap a mag in real quick and be ready to go.
Yeah.
They're going to be blinded by the 1,000 lumen light. And you can strobe it so you can make them like shit themselves.
Well, see, and like I think for my nightstand gun, it really ought to have like a tactical shotgun, for like in the home.
The Mossberg 930.
So I'm not even that familiar with my Mossbergs.
It's just a semi-automatic, and it'll 3-inch chambered. I'm giving away too many of my secrets here.
I was about to say, I'm not going to tell you.
My house is very unprotected.
Yeah. But
I do get a kick out of the ones where they talk about home defense per what the Democrats want you to have. And it says you can only have the firearms that they had when they wrote it. And it talks about the guy hearing somebody in his house, and he's standing at the top of the stairs, and he's got a cannon, and he goes, tally ho, and blows the dude to pieces with a cannon.
It's pretty funny.
It's I think it says he grabs his powdered wig and lights his cannon.
Well, and they want to be like, well, back in those days, you couldn't buy like military grade weapons. And
That's all they had.
Well, and people like share like a 1780s like little flyer where you could like buy a cannon.
Yes.
But actually, like by these standards, like, yeah, I should be able to have a tank.
They had the same weaponry the military did.
The most advanced.
Yeah. I should be able to have. There should be a jet parked out here in the lot. Like
if you could afford it, yeah. Why not?
Yep, that's right. I'm gonna tell Marcy we're gonna sell another farm because I'm gonna buy an F-15 or whatever they are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the next Top Gun Maverick out here.
Yeah.
So, well, guys, next week we'll go into our goals kind of for 2023. We had talked about maybe doing that in here, but we had a pretty darn good episode. So we'll get into that next week. Please leave us a rating and review. I did have a guy that say he would rock some hats. Had a dude say, man, yeah, y'all get some hats. We'll rock them.
Good deal.
So we need to get some hats. Somebody did ask on YouTube. I forgot to respond. On the Talk Dirt to Me, they said, did your dad swallow the coffee spit or did he spit it out? I'm pretty sure he swallowed it.
I mean, the way he does it, like he doesn't even really make spit. You know, I mean, it's no more than I
the little bitty amount that he
spit
put.
when I'm just sitting here like, yeah, no, like, right. He just, he puts it in. He like, you have no idea. I mean, it's, he doesn't carry around a cup to spit in or anything. I mean,
it's just for the habit of having something in there.
Like, I mean, you literally have no idea he has one in. It's so
there you go. He swallows the spit. But leave us a rating and a review, and hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we will. The next episode.
Yeah, it's our last one for 22.
It is. Hope y'all have a great Happy New Year.
Yeah, everybody be safe on New Year. I know everybody says that, but like, I don't know what the average age of our audience is, but. If you're anywhere near my age, you're too damn old to be out there raising too much hell. I think we're gonna have a pretty low key one. I have no desire to like go downtown. I mean, we're 45 minutes from downtown Memphis. Like I've never been down on Bill Street for New Year's. I've never any desire. I don't want to go to Times Square and watch the ball. Like
no, I don't ever do shit on New Year's.
We generally have a cookout.
Yeah,
you know? And a couple of years when we haven't felt like doing that, we go eat dinner.
Yeah. I may do that. I may just try to, I don't know, cook something. I don't know. Because, Marcy typically works on New Year's. She's a nurse. And this is like the first New Year's she's been off in a while. And she's like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. We don't ever do anything on New Year's. I don't know. So, but yeah, guys, do be safe. You know, we're privy to our audience, man. Y'all are a good audience. We want you to stick around. So be safe, and we will catch you next week.
Yep. Y'all have a Happy New Year.